After we moved back to Eskimo Point or Arviat in '69, we just arrived. We moved in with my late Uncle Casimir for I don't know how many months until they find us a matchbox, like a square matchbox. Then and my parents really moved into carving again because there's arts and crafts happening after we moved in to Arviat. Seems like they carve every single day. Then I was also heavily rely on my parents to get food for tomorrow and today. This time I'm more smoking cigarettes and stuff. I need to get money to buy my cigarettes and stuff, and chewing snuff, the habits I picked up when I was a young boy in Whale Cove, and also a bit of gas sniffing. Then when we moved to Arviat, it was maybe 16, 17, 18, and it's not Whale Cove, that's for sure. It's bigger, lots of people from the coast, Batley, Ahiarmiut, and it was quite, not a shock, but very different for me. Then I realized all the jobs were taken. Then I realized I need to find something. Number one, there's nothing. And number two, I realized I only have elementary school education. Then my parents carve. I tried to carve, but maybe after 2 carvings I quit. It's so hard, time consuming, plus I don't have imagination to be a carver. The 2 products I made, they were terrible. One was a man, like a very stiff man, and I took it to arts and crafts stores. The man looked at it, it's like this. It's not bad, but you have to add this and this and this, and bring it back tomorrow. Can you do that? So I ran back and scratched all the things he said. Scratch the bottom, make Frenches, draw, scratch eyes, and I ran back the day later. I thought I would get 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. It wasn't like that. I don't know how much, I think it was $6 or less than $8 for sure. I was so disappointed. That was it. That was the end of my carving opportunity. Maybe I would be famous today, carver. Then as the years went by, I get to know other people of my age, get into square dancing and do other things, learn the guitar, square dance, all over things, and friends I know drink, and I get into more of that too, which I never learned how to control. All my drinking life, it was like that. Once I started, I just couldn't stop until there's no more. It was those. And here is something very funny. I was in the band. I was the bass player. Sometimes we drink. And my friend, adult educator, was going to Churchill for a conference. Said, "Can you bring me back a bottle of whiskey?" I said, "Yeah, okay." He arrived and gave me a bottle. I learned it wasn't whiskey. It was wine. So I told two of my bandmates, "Come, we'll have a drink." And I bought a Coke and three bottles, three glasses, all same lid, Coke, and this liquor, even it all. And it has a picture of a duck, and it was called Baby Duck. Baby Duck. We start drinking, nothing happens, not like whiskey. It was so disappointing. My two bandmates were so happy to come, but it was so funny that day. And after that, I tried to educate myself at adult education to improve my math and English, which I did. And I must have been noted by my instructor. His brother is the arts and craft officer. He said, "There might be an opening at the craft shop half a day." So he must have referred me to his brother, and I got a job, half a day kind of thing. Every so often I would continue with my upgrading English and math. And I got into arts and crafts. I must impress the guy, and I become a full-time packer for carvings to ship to Ottawa, Winnipeg, and for other places. And I did that for 2 or 3 years. And also I was more interested in getting girls and stuff. And that's where I met my wife. And I was arts and craft officer in Arviat, Eskimo Point, when I met my wife. And that's where I started to see I cannot go forward unless I secure something like train myself. So I was working at the arts and craft officer. I met my wife, and we got married 2 years later. Then I look at, and we look at what might interest me as a career. Maybe have equipment, like they have water truck, sewage truck, all the heavy truck equipment. Maybe I'll try one of those. So they sent me to DePaul, Manitoba, to have equipment operator. And I did that and returned to Arviat, newly married. There was no future practically. But I'm sure my wife loved me. But after I returned, I got a job as a driver. I said, "What driver?" sewage. In those days, all the houses have no toilet facilities, washing, water. It was all honey buckets. So outside every house there's a 45-gallon drum and all your sewage in the bag. I become one of the 3 guys to take all these 45 gallons and dump to a dump. After a few weeks, it was a smelly job. Even on the good days, I smell like the drum. Said I cannot do this. So I look at other options, and there was an opening at the school, a classroom assistant, part-time. And here's a funny part of that. Part of it was to take honey buckets from the school bathroom to 45 gallons outside. But it's a better setting. Part of it I work in the classroom, and my wife become my supervisor in the classroom. It was pretty funny, and from there I become interested in education. I attend courses, classroom assistant courses in Rankin and Iqaluit, or Frobisher back then. More of that, more of drinking, all these things. Then I decided I want to become a teacher. Then 2 years after working as a classroom assistant, I applied to NTEP, teacher education, and got accepted to Fort Smith campus near Yellowknife, in the BUT Alberta border, Fort Smith. And we moved there. My wife had to resign from her teaching job so she would accompany me to the college. And that was the hardest thing in my whole life, with limited education, limited adult education, to go to teachers college. There's lots of time I want to quit and go, but there's always someone at home that sit and relax. You can do it. So she continued doing that until I graduated from teacher education. So we moved back to Arviat in 78 as a teacher. That was one of the scary parts. I thought going to college with limited education was scary. To move back to my own community was even scarier, because they know me, this low life Ahiarmiut dude. It's become a teacher, and they're going to teach my children. All these were in my head, very scared. And although I was really looking forward for that first payday, all these scary images never goes away until year 1, year 2, year 3 come by. And also it was a time there are hardly any teachers in the whole Northwest Territories. I'm one of the very few graduates. First one from Ahiarmiut. Then after I worked so hard to impress the parents, see, I can do the job okay. I work hard and got their approval, and from there on, I never looked back. And years later, many of the parents tell me, we really appreciate when you were a teacher of my daughter or son. I mean, so it's good to hear. That gives me confidence to carry on. Maybe this is something I will do all my life. I'm not sure if I ever look at my paycheck and say, not enough. I hate going back to classroom. It hardly come to my mind. I really enjoy what I did as a teacher. There are times that I do not really enjoy when it comes to change things, because in my Wells Cove days as a student, all these things, no Inuktitut, no language, all these, when I become a teacher, all these teachers were still from South, and they control everything, and that also really was bothering me. And even to teach in Inuktitut was really in my mind. Maybe the parents don't want me to teach in Inuktitut, like it's been English in the past. So to break that scary part, I went to the meeting and asked the advisory group, I teach kindergarten. It's okay to teach in my mother tongue, Inuktitut. I'm just waiting for this or this. That's all I need to know. They all said, and I think I left the meeting, I'm sure, and next morning, much better. I feel better. And from there, I never looked back. I went to all these things. I want to focus on Inuit culture, Inuit language, and drumming. All the things that I have hard time in 60s that were not allowed in my classroom. I want to focus on these. Now I'm in control of a classroom as a teacher that I did all my life.